Hey, it's the announcement guy. I'm by one of my favorite rocks here. This rock has been here since the early 1300s, and we just built the rest of the campus around it. And these are allium bulbs right here, and the bees are coming in and banging on them hard. Wanted to tell you also that we're composting now at the church. So when you go to a trash receptacle, we've got trash, we've got compost, and we got recycling. So think about which container you're going to put it in, and we're making dirt right here on site. Here's what's coming up.
Our Healing Light service is tonight at 5 p.m. Take part in a unique hour of meditation, guided imagery, and music that is gentle and spiritually energizing. Visit milehighchurch.org for service details.
Embracing the Shadow with Simon Shadowlight, Friday, June 16th and Saturday, June 17th. In having the courage to acknowledge, integrate, and even embrace the shadow, we will find treasures, we will find gifts, we will deepen in our understanding and experience of what it means to be whole.
So I want to let you know that we have a farmer's market here in the parking lot at Mile High Church every Saturday morning from 10 to 2. It's going to be open through the end of September. Great place to get stuff that's been grown right here in Colorado. Get our peaches and our apricots there every year. Good place to meet farmers as well. So check this out, farmer's market on Saturdays. Have a great week.
So as many of you know, we just completed our Adventures in Prosperity series. And during that time, we invite our Mile Highers to sign a card of intent for their giving for the coming fiscal year. So during this song, we are going to roll some credits of people who have participated in that. And we want to say thank you very much for being a part of it. Hello, everyone. You can sing along if you want, right? We are Mile High. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. Look around and tell me what you see. Smiling faces, shining back at me. All of my neighbors, all of my friends. One mind, one life, one heart. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High, we are the world. Every man and woman, every boy and girl. Take my hand, together we will be. Love and light, we stand in unity. All of my neighbors, all of my friends. One mind, one life, one heart. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. Sing along, we are Mile High. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High, we are the world. We are every man and woman, every boy and girl. We are Mile High. That was Dr. Michelle on the singing.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for starting us out right. And by the way, that idea to roll those names was her idea, so thank you for thinking of that. We get to acknowledge people, which is wonderful. Yes. Good morning, Mile High. So glad to have you here today. Welcome to those of you in our beautiful teal sanctuary. Welcome to those of you watching us online. What a joy it is to be together in spiritual community this morning. I'm having fun teaching classes and getting to interact with a lot of people. And I find it fascinating that there's an element of many of our Mile High stories that is similar. And that is that many of us felt like we could sense that there was a presence and an energy that permeated all creation, and that God was this presence that was everywhere. And then we walked into a church and said, oh my gosh, they believe it that way too. So raise your hand if that was your story. Yeah, look around. See, that's the Mile High story. Many of us have been called to be here out of that resonance of some knowing within us. And then many of us come into this place and are opened up into the reality of that being. And that's what we're about here. It's that awakening of that spiritual presence that we know exists in, through, and as all beings everywhere. And a belief that the more of us who are awakened to that, the better our world is. So thank you for representing that awakening as you are here this morning and as we are here together. And part of how we affirm and claim that awakening with each other is that we get to read our vision and mission every week when we come together. So please join me, first of all, for our vision: oneness revealed, a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. And our mission: to serve as a spiritual beacon for personal empowerment and global enlightenment. What a joy it is to remember these things, and we get to now step into some spiritual practice together. We're going to sing together, have some silence, and Reverend Jackie will pray us in. Let us begin.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Yes, Spirit is in this space. The energy of all of the souls that have filled this beautiful sanctuary over the years fills each one of us each time we come in and sit and bask in the power of Spirit. What a powerful thing to realize that Spirit is not only in this space, but Spirit is within each one of us as we sit in this sanctuary and take in the music, the readings, the talk, knowing that we are in a community of souls who share in that same love and grace that comes from the divine. It is such a powerful thing to know and to be part of such a community. And I'm so deeply thankful for all of those who participate in making this service a powerful one, a wonderful one, an uplifting one. Our volunteers who come every Sunday and offer their service, their sacred service. For our musicians who provide the uplifting of our hearts and souls, and the message by Dr. Michelle. Remembering that we are in this life to share our light as part of the collective that fills the world with a higher vibration of compassion, of love, of joy, and kindness. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for the gifts you give every day, the reminder of the life that we enjoy, for the birds that sing first thing in the morning, their high-pitched trill, for the hummingbirds that buzz around and remind us of life. Thank you, God. And because I know all of this is true, I can release this prayer knowing that it is unfolding perfectly all the time. Thank you, Spirit. And so it is.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say Amen.
Our inspirational words today from Indira Gandhi. The power to question is the basis of all human progress. And from Brené Brown, choosing to be curious is choosing to be vulnerable because it requires us to surrender to uncertainty. It wasn't always a choice. We were born curious. But over time, we learn that curiosity, like vulnerability, can lead to hurt. As a result, we turn to self-protecting, choosing certainty over curiosity, armor over vulnerability, and knowing over learning.
This is the moment, it's on the line. Which way you gonna fall? In the middle, between wrong and right. But you know after all, it's your life, what you gonna do? The world is watching you every day. The choices you make say what you are and who your heart beats for. It's an open door. It's your life. Are you who you always said you would be, with a sinking feeling in your chest? Always waiting for someone else to fix you. Tell me, when did you forget? It's your life, what you gonna do? The world is watching you every day. The choices you make say what you are and who your heart beats for. It's an open door to live the way that you believe. This is your opportunity to let your light be one that lights the way. It's your life, what you gonna do? The world is watching you every day. The choices you make say what you are and who your heart beats for. It's an open door. It's your life, what you gonna do? The world is watching you every day. The choices you make say what you are and who your heart beats for. It's an open door. It's your life. It's your
Thank you.
Jennifer Burnett. Hey, and look at those shoes. Jennifer's got her pride shoes on today. Ooh. And I've got
the heel.
Yeah, let me see the, oh yeah, I've got my pride nails on today.
Ooh,
so
pretty.
yeah, we're representing, right? Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Beautiful music. Our wonderful band, Bijou Barbosa, Mike Marlier, Kent Rautenstrauss, and Rob Lowe. Yes. Amazing. I'm very excited today to bring a message that I've been thinking about for a number of months. The message is entitled, Embracing Your Big Ask. You have to have the K on now. Don't forget it. And you might think at first that this is about asking for big things in life and asking the universe for a big life, but it really, I'm taking it a different direction. I was honored to get to teach minister as speaker to our San Diego campus of ministers recently. And I love to do that because I love to see the new ministers coming forth into the world and to support them any way that I can. And I'm honored to do it. And plus, when they talk, I get to use some of the information. I get stories and jokes and interesting directions. And so there was a gentleman in the class named Neil, a ministerial student who just graduated, and he had a talk that was kind of in this vein, and I really thought it was an interesting premise. And I took one of the questions that he proposed as an important question we can ask ourselves, and I applied it to a difficult situation in my life, and I had this huge breakthrough. It was a question that I felt like opened up doors for me of awareness and clarity and healing that I hadn't been able to accomplish until that moment in a long-term situation that I was frustrated about. And it caused me to begin to contemplate a message like this, a message where I'm inviting us to take a look at the things that we're attempting to accomplish in life, the dreams, the goals, the high ideals, the ways we want to live, as well as looking at the times where we experience challenge or upset or frustration with conditions in our life or relationships in our life, and to use the beautiful art of asking good questions, of getting curious and asking good questions that can lead us through the walls that we might be experiencing in that issue or situation. It's quite an art. And we find that most of us, when we get really frustrated, sort of naturally do this. Think about driving down the road and someone cuts us off and we think, what are they doing? Or something happens and it surprises us and we say, what the heck? I can't believe what's going on. So we have a propensity already to ask sort of questions that no one can really answer, because some part of our brain, some part of our being knows that tact can sometimes cause us to feel as though we're seeking or we're attaining solutions for ourselves. And the quality of the questions we ask matters. That's why I'm inviting us to have a big ask, to use questioning and curiosity to lead us to greater states of consciousness, and to be mindful of the kinds of questions that we tend to ask that keep us stuck. And so we have to become curious and have to ask important questions. Here's some important questions that I'd like to pose for us just to consider here. For example, is there another word for synonym? Where do forest rangers go to get away from it all? Good questions. This is really important. I'm sure some of you can answer this for me. Can vegetarians eat animal crackers? These are important questions. Here's a really good one. If the police arrest a mime, do they still tell him he has the right to remain silent? See, you're going to be glad you came today, huh? The last one, what was the best thing before sliced bread? These are good questions. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring some silly ones first is that I really feel like asking fun and silly questions takes us out of our comfort zone, takes us out of our serious mind. Laughter launches off a bunch of chemistry for us that makes us more open and available. And so in the space of those questions now, what I'd like to invite us to do is to consider a situation in our life that we've been wondering about, a situation that we'd like to move forward in, a goal or a dream that we've set for ourselves, a place maybe we feel a little stuck, or a relationship that's challenging for us, or a situation that is bothering us. Now, I often tell people in classes, pick one today. Don't pick them all. Don't sit there with them listening and then wait for the answer. One of the reasons that I think our founder, Ernest Holmes, called this the science of mind is that he had a firm belief that we could take this teaching and use it in practical ways and apply it to our lives. And upon applying it in one situation, we could replicate that in other situations. So for the sake of our time together today, our brief time together, what I would encourage is to just be mindful mindful and present to one situation in life as we contemplate this possibility of asking good questions. Ernest Holmes says to us, in seeking answers to our problems and questions, we need to realize and know there is an intelligence in me which knows the answer to every question. There is nothing unknown to mind. It has the solution to every problem. This mind is my mind. It is now working in me and through me. It is acquainting my intellect, my conscious mind, with the desired information. The riddle of the universe is a paradox. The question is its own answer, for the mind that asks the question is also of the mind that answers it. So when we bump up against something in our life, and we wonder what it's about, and we start to become curious, what Holmes is talking about is taking on the energy of a part of me knows the answer. A part of me can claim my answer, that I don't necessarily need someone out there to answer it, although if someone out there is useful, they could be part of the answer, and I'm open to that. But I take accountability for myself and claim and know and affirm and stand in my own spiritual power enough to understand that the answers of anything I'm pondering are right within me. And I get curious, as Reverend Michelle read in our readings today. I love Brené Brown's work on curiosity. She talks about getting curious just unlocks the doors to things. But she also pointed out in that reading the challenge of becoming curious. It's a place of vulnerability. I think a lot of us think that when it comes to the problems and challenges of our life, we're supposed to know all the answers. And if we don't know all the answers, something is clearly wrong with us. It's almost like the school days part of us where the teacher is saying, don't you know that answer? Didn't you read that chapter? And a part of us is ashamed and embarrassed that maybe we don't know the answer. And so it takes great vulnerability, even within our own self, to say, I don't really know the answer. I don't know how I'm going to solve this. This is a challenge, a problem. This is my dream. This is my goal. And I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. And it takes great vulnerability to share that with other people, too. But once we become open, like Holmes is talking about, and we become curious, like Brené Brown is talking about, then there is an art to answering empowering questions versus disempowering questions. And the great challenge in this art is that many of us start with the most disempowering questions of all because we're stuck and we have a habit of using disempowering questions. So here's a few disempowering questions that we need to pay attention to. They both begin with why. The first one is, why is this happening? And it's made even more worse, and you can keep yourself even more stuck, if you would like, by adding to it a little wine. And I'm not talking about, the wine you drink. I'm talking about, why is this happening? See that? Oh boy, that's really good fodder for staying stuck. Now, here's the thing. I totally understand that when things don't go our way, or when things fall apart, or when life gets hard, or challenges come up, there's a shelf life for all of us to be in that space of course there is. It's not wrong to be frustrated. It's not wrong to feel victimized. It's not wrong to feel that we don't understand and to have that kind of whiny feeling in us. But here's the thing. Some of us, that's where we live when it comes to solving our problems. Something comes up and it's like, and it's almost like it's a habit because it's born out of a great place of disempowerment that is duality. It's the trap of thinking that someone out there is doing something to us or keeping something from us. And yes, other people are involved in all of our lives. And yes, sometimes other people do have ill intentions towards us. Of course, yes. But no matter what someone is doing out there, no matter what's happening out there, each one of us always can get to a place of empowerment where we can walk forward, but we can't do it if we're in that victim space of, why is this happening? And the related disempowering question to that is, why are they reacting that way? Why are they being that way? Unanswerable question unless you can get inside their head. You can't know for sure. And so that makes us stuck too, because we're spending time worrying about the other person, why they're behaving that way, why they're doing what they're doing, versus bringing our own power and energy back to ourselves. When I took the metapsychiatry class many years ago with Dr. Patty, there's a list of principles in the metapsychiatry work, and one of them is, why is a futile question? And we studied a lot. They encouraged us to ask instead, what is the meaning of this for me? Which is somewhat related to what I'm going to get into with empowering questions. But I got really clear that why is futile because it doesn't progress us forward. We think it will. We have illusions that if I only knew why, then I could move on. But I think back on some of the unpleasant things that occurred in my life, and sometimes I did learn why, and it might have helped a teeny little bit, might have helped me have compassion for the person, but in terms of my ability to transcend the negative experiences I've had, to transcend the challenges I've experienced, to push past my own self-limiting behaviors, knowing why doesn't make me have some superpower. In fact, sometimes it makes it worse. Why did you say that to me? Well, because I don't like you. Okay. I know why, but it didn't really help. And we have some fantasy that if I just knew why, it would all be okay. In the personal growth movement, my mom says this a lot, why is the booby prize, right? Knowing why is the booby prize. It's like, okay, big whoop, now you know why. Ultimately, the line goes like this, now you know why, and get on with it. Move past it. Do your healing work. And we also know that why also can keep us stuck in that duality because there's some part of us that wants to believe possibly that there's some force outside of us that is keeping us from our good, that it's not really us, that it's something out there that's keeping us from being able to do what we want to do. Some rule, some law, some political party, some ideal that's not keeping us, allowing us to be and do what we want. But we also can see that in our society and in our world, it's people who no longer fall prey to whys from the past and step out of it into the now moment and from an empowered place, walk forward. That's what changes our culture, our world, and our lives. It's the ability to let why in the past inform us a little bit, but not keep us stuck. And that's the last thing that I'll say about the why also, or this is the last thing, is that when we're obsessed with why, it's as though our brain, our mind, our whole being is in something from the past that occurred 10 minutes ago, 10 days ago, 10 years ago, and we're there trying to figure it out. And we are never our most powerful self when we're obsessing and contemplating the past. We can grow from it. We can say, okay, that didn't work for me. I'm going to do something different. But being in it and constantly being at the effect of our past is part of what keeps us stuck because we don't have the full measure of our creative self that is born in the now moment, the person we are today. Maybe my 10-year-old self couldn't figure things out, but my older self who can companion her 10-year-old self can say, okay, we got this. But I can't if I stay stuck back there. I can if I'm always there. Why? Why did they do that? Why did they say that? Why did that happen? Why? It's a form of just staying there. It's very disempowering, and it doesn't promote forward progress. Can you tell that I'm excited about the football season coming up? Forward progress, right? Yeah. So, what are some empowering questions then? Empowering questions include, what am I avoiding? What am I avoiding? I want to share a little bit about Dan Harris. 2 reasons. Because he's coming here in November, on November 3rd, Reverend Josh announced last week that we're so excited to have Dan Harris come and speak to us Friday, November 3rd. You can purchase tickets today out at the Activities and Events Center. And because I didn't quite know much about him as we were talking about having him come here, and so I studied Dan Harris. Dan Harris was an anchor on the ABC News Channel, the international channel out of New York, and he was sent on numerous assignments as a reporter and did very well and was making a lot of accomplishments. He was sent into some of the most challenging assignments I could imagine as a journalist, often into war zones and places where people were being very violent, put his own life in danger, was in the midst of live fire going on and all sorts of dangerous situations to report what was happening. Came back and was in studio being given certain assignments out of New York. And one day, while 5 million people were watching him on the news, he had a panic attack. And you can see him doing this. He's very open about it. He did an interview with Diane Sawyer about it, and they play it. And he got to see himself have this panic attack. He said at the time he was self-medicating using substances to keep himself calm, and it clearly was not working. So he's also very aware of addiction and the challenge that it poses on people's lives. And he then began to ask himself some questions. What was he avoiding? What was he not looking at? What was he not taking a deeper look at? And this led him into an opening space of self-awareness that caused him to grow and lose a lot of his anxiety, or learn to manage his anxiety in a better way, and to get beyond that and begin to teach people about mindfulness and meditation. He wrote a book called 10% Happier. He has one of the most popular podcasts out there. Many people listen to him. And I know that we're going to sell a lot of tickets. We have a lot of people outside of Mile High, even some of the universities and professors locally who are interested in joining us. So please get your tickets. It's going to be well worth it. And he, to me, represents each one of us in times when we have felt that sense of anxiety or didn't know what to do or had something really horrible or embarrassing happen to us. I love it that he began to ask himself some important questions. And so the question of what am I avoiding often helps us to see what we're pushing down, what we're keeping out of our lives, what we're trying to pretend isn't there, what we're not seeing about ourselves, what we're not taking responsibility for. Remember, the word responsibility is really an ability to respond. And we tend to think that if I have something that happened that I'm unhappy with, if I just avoid it and push it away, I'll be fine. But all the while, guess what's running the show? Guess what's infiltrating every prayer, every affirmation, every desire, every movement forward, consciously and in terms of the law of attraction. It's that which we've pushed down, that which we've tried to avoid. So we think we're doing a good thing by avoiding that stuff, but just like Dan experienced, the moment we turn towards it and look right at it and say, I'm no longer willing to avoid this, I'm going to look at what I'm avoiding, we can become empowered. Because upon having the recognition of it, we can then begin to take steps forward that serve us and support us. So what am I avoiding becomes a huge and important question. The next one is, this is a really good one. If this situation were to never change, what must I do to find peace? I've watched many people deal with huge challenges, sometimes physical diagnoses or relationships or situations that they just have to accept. This is what's so. This is how it is right now. This is how that person is or how that situation is. I can't change them. I can't change the past. I can't change the situation. But what can I do for myself to create and generate more peace for myself? That becomes an important question. And both of these questions so far open us up in a way that I think Holmes was talking about in that quote. They allow us to go deeper into the capital M mind that exists in us to discover solutions, to feel inspiration, to feel the call forward. And sometimes it's to stay still, and sometimes it's to move, and sometimes it's to do nothing, and sometimes it's to do lots of things. But upon listening from that space, we experience greater guidance and intelligence, literal intelligence. And the last one that truly changed my situation was, how is this situation or person or condition serving me? How is this serving me? One thing that I've noticed about us in this teaching that I want to challenge us on today, and that is that, yes, we do teach that our consciousness contributes to the outcomes of our life. And yes, there are times when I can look at my life and I can say, okay, for years I've been thinking negatively about myself or this situation, so I shouldn't be surprised that my experience is negative, of course. But in those situations that show up, that are challenging, and I sometimes ask myself and tell myself, I don't remember thinking this. I don't remember anything to do with this. How this appears, this challenge, this situation, this relationship issue just seems to be coming up out of the blue. What is that about? And we then sometimes, here's the fallacy, we say to ourselves, well, if I have good things happen to me, I must be having good consciousness. If I have bad things happening to me, I must have bad consciousness. And that's what I'm challenging us to rethink today. Because the way I see it is that when I set intentions for my own good and I begin to move towards them, in order to have and be the good that I seek, I sometimes have to face everything within me that's not like that. I sometimes have to grow muscles. In order to have the good that I seek, keep it and maintain it, I might have to have a stronger self-image. I might have to develop skills of strength. I might have to love myself more fiercely. I might have to believe in myself. And so as I'm moving forward towards my good, sometimes out of me, I attract situations that are not because my consciousness stinks, I'm a horrible thinker, I've got something wrong with me, and certainly are not because something out there is punishing me or wanting me to learn a lesson or any of that stuff. It's simply that I'm moving forward, and the challenge that I'm facing is growing me into something. And that's what I discovered for myself out of that question. In this relationship that I was working on, I was always obsessed with it out there. And suddenly, as I started to look at what was growing in me because of it, I actually felt some gratitude for the pain, some gratitude for the conflict, some gratitude for it not being perfect, because I could see that who I was becoming in the midst of it was a stronger version of myself. And if I'm becoming the stronger version of myself, then I can create and have the ultimate outcome. And so it's important for us often to use this question to understand that the situations in our life, the challenges, are serving us and are a gift to us. Okay, breathe that one in. A gift. A gift. A gift of growth. A gift of becoming. A gift of transformation. A gift of evolution. A gift that's leading me forward towards what it is I say I really want. Ooh, could that be possible? And upon asking these transformational questions, we can feel the power of ourselves returning, and we're in the now, and we can feel and sense what's so for us and how to be with and move with and dance with and experience the greatest challenges of our life. This is what I'm inviting us to do this week with regards to that situation that we thought of a little while ago, that we considered, that we pondered, to ask the questions that empower us about that situation. Is there anything I'm avoiding here? If this situation were never to change, how could I be at peace? And how is this person or situation or condition helping me to grow or strengthening me or serving me in some way? I'd like to close with a reading of a quote from the great thinker Albert Einstein, who says, "If I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes." I think that is support for us to go out this week and embrace our big ask. Please join me for prayer. Thank you. I invite our practitioners, our prayer practitioners, to stand with us today as we do this. We step now into this prayerful process, breathing in the very breath of life. And I accept and affirm that as we do this, right here and right now, the power, the presence, the light, and the life that God is flows freely and effortlessly through this universe, in, through, and as all things, people, situations, relationships. And that it is right here, right now, in, through, and as me as I speak this word, that this prayer that I pray is a prayer of alignment, a prayer of wholeness and love, a prayer of intention to recognize and see and sense that God is, I am. And I accept and know that this is the truth of every being within the sound of my voice. That we reside right here and right now in that infinite intelligence, that infinite mind. And indeed that any question or concern that we have in our life, in our world, for ourselves, for our loved ones, that there is wisdom and guidance, and that this week we recognize that we've been handed a key to unlock the doorway, the gateway into that greater intelligence. And it is curiosity. It is alignment with this greater truth, and it is asking powerful, deep, profound questions of ourselves in order to see and lay claim to solutions and possibilities. And so I accept and affirm that each one of us is guided greatly in this endeavor this week. And that upon experiencing that guidance and experiencing the awakenings that we do, that we can then apply this beautiful skill and gift to any and all conditions of life. And that we are blessed with this ability, with this energy, and with this intelligence flowing through us, in us, and as us, right here and right now. And so with great grace and gratitude, I simply release this prayer into the action of that law that makes it so. It is done, it is good, I let it be, and so it is.
I've been down and out, filled with doubt. Had this little heart of mine kicked around. All of this hard won't break my soft. What is gone is never lost. There's still hope in this hook, belief in the bridge, that all of these scars are proof that I lived. There's still hope in this hook, belief that tomorrow will hold the silver lining to all of the sorrow. On the sunniest day, the sky can seem gray, but all of my warmth can't be taken away. All of these battles, they've made me fierce. Know that my faith, it cannot be pierced. There's still hope in this hook, belief in the bridge, that all of these scars are proof that we lived. There's still hope in this hook, believe that tomorrow will hold the silver lining to all of this sorrow. 'Cause crying doesn't make me weak, it's my soul just trying to speak. Oh, I don't wanna go to sleep knowing that I could have done better than this, knowing that I could have done better than this. There's still hope in this hook, belief in the bridge, that all of these scars are proof that we lived. There's still hope in this hook, belief that tomorrow will hold the silver lining to all of the sorrow. There's still hope in this hook, belief in the bridge, that all of these scars are proof that we lived. There's still hope in this hook, belief that tomorrow will hold the silver lining to all of the sorrow. There's still hope in this hook, belief in the bridge, that all of these scars are proof that we lived. There's still hope in this hook, belief that tomorrow will hold the silver lining to all of this sorrow. Crying doesn't make me weak, it's my heart just trying to speak.
Thank you, Jennifer. Things that make me go, Jennifer Burnett and her music, yeah. I want to thank those of our online viewers watching from far and away. We have about 323 people watching online today, and some of them are from Arizona, the Zonies, Nebraska, Oregon, Spain, Japan, Indiana, and Germany. Thank you for watching and letting us say hi to you all. So it's great to have you with us. Let's acknowledge them. What a joy. And today, as we circulate our good through our tithes and offerings, I want to invite us to do something that we've been told for eons is a good thing to do. Before we circulate, I invite each one of us just to take a moment and take an inventory of our blessings, to allow ourselves to see the people, the conditions, the situations in our life that have blessed us, to see even some of the people here at Mile High Church who are sitting next to us or up on this platform that have blessed us, and just give thanks and feel the gratitude pouring forth for the beautiful, blessed life we live. And then for those of us who are choosing to give financially, we do that out of that beautiful energy. And so all the ways that you can give are listed on the screens up here, from the baskets that we'll pass to texting to give and all sorts of ways. But more importantly, I invite us all just to affirm the truth about our giving today. So please say our affirmation with me. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is.
Open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you could not find. Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Touch yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten. I break tradition. Sometimes my trials are outside the lines. Yeah, we've been conditioned to not make mistakes, and I can't live that way. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the words that you could not find. Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Touch yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Touch yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window. Reaching for something in the distance, so close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions. Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Touch yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you, only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. Touch yourself in words unspoken, live your life with arms wide open. Today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten. 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 The rest is still unwritten.
Thank you, Jennifer Burnett, Mile High Band. Now that's how you start a Sunday. If you are new to Mile High Church, I just want to welcome you. And if you would like some more information about who we are and what we're up to, I invite you to stop by the Welcome Center in our lobby or check out information on our website. You can also find some material on the outskirts of our lobby to take home with you as well. Our prayer practitioners are making their way down front, and they would love to support you in affirmative prayer and celebrate with you. And you can also submit a prayer request out in the lobby, written or online.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Get your Dan Harris tickets. We have early bird pricing until July 1st. You can do that out at the event center. And we are going to be in the Pride Parade again this year. Yay, very exciting. We have Mile Highers march with us. Reverend Carol and I are there to host. And so if you'd like to march with us or find out about it, Reverend Carol is out at a table in the lobby right by the brochure displays. And you can stop and talk to her and sign up to join us for the march. And we also, right after the service at 11:30, have a drumming circle that will be occurring over in the labyrinth. And so if you'd like to just hang out and absorb the drumming energy or get in there and drum yourself, you are more than welcome to stick around. It's a wonderful experience. And tonight, over in the Vote Center Auditorium at 5 p.m., the Healing Light service is taking place. A beautiful time of meditation and light and candles. It's a wonderful gift to give yourself. So please join us for that. And now, if you would, let's stand together for the benediction and peace song. We go forth in love and light, knowing that our questions are open, our hearts are open, our lives are blessed, and we are a blessing. We just give thanks that this is so, and let it be, and so it is.